So Mr Thomson, just give us really a government in this morning, the Treasury Minister and the Chief Minister. What can you tell us about what you discussed?
Really, we had a discussion on how the negotiations regarding the dispute with Nautilus are going. We discussed some strategies about how we could bring things to a conclusion. And I remain hopeful that we can have a solution.
In terms of that, is this still the case of the negotiations are still there if the union wants to have that? Or
yeah, well, we had Nautilus in last week. We also had Banks Industrial Relations at the meeting, which is something that I think both of us welcomed. I think for future, I think I'd be happy for Banks Industrial Relations to attend those meetings as well, to try and help us to come to a resolution that works for everybody.
How are relations with you? I know we've had Christmas and New Year, but also they have started actually sort of striking. How are relations with the union? Are there still talks ongoing? Or?
Yeah, the talks are ongoing. The company will remain at the table, willing to enter into meaningful discussions. And I'd like to think that's how Nautilus see things as well. You know, the dispute isn't dead in the water. There is things we can talk about and try and come to a conclusion that satisfies the majority of our seafarers.
People will see it that the government have finally sort of done what people have been asking for a little while and got themselves involved in this dispute. Is that how you see it, or is it?
No, the dispute is between the company and the Officers Union Nautilus. Obviously, Treasury are the shareholder, the Isle of Man government are a stakeholder. Everybody has an interest, you know, yourselves and the rest of the media have an interest. So it's certainly up to the company to keep everybody informed as much as we possibly can. And certainly if there was a huge development, we would get that out there as well.
And just in terms of what has been introduced, you brought in this temporary sort of schedule, which has been brought about in part by the dispute, but also due to personal issues for one member of the crew, which has sort of knocked the whole thing out of kilter. Is that basically
yeah. So what we're sort of giving compassionate leave to one of our officers, and because of the industrial action, we can't get anyone to step in for them, which is part of the industrial action. But I think it's just unfortunate timing. But it's sort of fortunate that we have the Arrow here to maintain the lifeline service.
Well, just on that, a bit of a weird one that's happened today is that the reports in Guernsey are she's about to go down there.
Yeah, I think that report's premature, because I would definitely know if that was the case, and I can assure you she is not on her way to Guernsey.
That's well, you can see her out the window. So
you can see her out the window, yes, so I think that's a giveaway as well.
So just, as people are, another thing that was sort of raised to us is that the Arrows here, the Ben's been famously back in Manx waters, in case anyone managed to miss the 8,000 or 9,000 different news stories about it over the past couple of days. Why hasn't it been possible to use the Ben and cover these in that time? Is there any way that could have been done to continue passenger services at night, or would it not have made any difference?
It wouldn't have made any difference, because it's a similar situation. So, you know, the backup service, if you like, using the Ben wouldn't work to cover industrial action on the Manxman, if you see where that goes. So the Arrow is outside of that industrial action. The Arrow is managed by a third party. The officers on board there are outside of the collective bargaining agreement of the steam packet, so therefore we can use her for the freight.
So they're not employed directly by the company then?
No.
So so the Arrow's going to be running for the next 2 weeks. Do you envisage that going longer, or is that at the minute just based on, again, what are unfortunate staffing issues that are beyond the industrial dispute? But do you see this going further than those 2 weeks, or is...
I don't see it going further than those 2 weeks, but of course industrial action can have a bigger impact at any point if that's what the union wish to do. But certainly so far I think they've respected the island's lifeline service, and it is just an unfortunate situation. It's nothing deliberate, and we've just found ourselves where we are. It's good that we're able to put on a daytime sailing on the Manxman, but also have the Arrow for the freight.